Keep it going for Jeff from the stage. Jeff Brooker.
I had to go into Manhattan on St. Patrick's Day, and I knew it was going to be a shit show. And sure enough, as soon as I got into the meatpacking district, I was standing on this one street, and around the corner came these three drunk women, and the drunkest one was being supported by the other two. And she looked up at me, and then she looked at her friend, and she said, "Why are there so many ugly people on this street?" And there was nobody else on the street. It was just me. And I didn't want to be there, but I had to go into Manhattan because I had some very good friends who had written books who were going to do a reading. And it was supposed to be a special reading where a secret television show had asked them to show up and read from their books. And when I showed up at this little studio that they had, it was maybe the best setup I've ever seen for a reading. They had multiple cameras, they had incredible lighting, they had a row of interns all the way around the walls with the little earpieces in, as if the president was gonna show up or something. And they had free wine and cheese at the front. And I thought, I'm so glad I came to support them, because they'd said that they needed an audience. And I thought, this is such a great opportunity for them. And I'm not naive enough to think that, they were going to become famous because of this. But it did make me think they're going to get this really great recording of them reading from their books that they've written. And immediately something was wrong. During the first reader, there was a guy sitting in the middle and his cell phone started going off. And then it went off again, and then it went off again, and he wouldn't turn it off. And then the next reader got up, and then his cell phone went off again. And everyone in the audience was screaming at him, telling him to turn off his cell phone. But I produce an open mic in a little bar, and I know that if someone's cell phone keeps on going off, your bouncer comes and gets them the hell out of there. And I knew that there was a lot of money in on this event, so I thought there's no way that for this show, they're gonna waste all this money and have it ruined by one cell phone. The show's gotta be the cell phone going off. So I turned to the intern standing next to me, and I said, "Hey, this is a prank, right? You guys are doing a prank show." And the guy just went, eh. And then I sat there and I waited. The next person got up and the cell phone went off and went off and went off. And then after she finished talking, and she was brilliant as always, even though his cell phone was going off, the guy stormed the stage and took out a little journal and started reading about his romance on the seas as a sailor, which was supposed to be a funny part of the prank or something. And at this point, I was so angry. I felt like maybe I could shove somebody, I mean, I don't get angry all that much, but this time I was like, I feel like I'm 16 and I just wanted to shove somebody. So I knew that I had to get off camera. So I got up and I went over to the wine table and drank some more free wine. And there was another intern there. And I said to her, "Hey, is this a prank show?" And she said, "I don't know what's going on." I go, "How come you can't get that guy off the stage?" And she said, I don't know what to do. And I said, "Well, let me tell you something. This had better not be a prank show, because these are my friends, and these books are books they spent years writing about their lives. And if you're going to take that and you're going to turn it into a joke, well, this better not be a prank show." And then I turned and I leaned up against a wall and I watched the guy. And at this point, the audience was defeated. They were quiet. And I kind of know if you want to get someone off stage, you just start slow clapping. So I did it. And then eventually everyone started clapping. And he actually looked up and made eye contact with me the one time. And then he got off the stage and he bolted out. Well, he came back and he announced it's a prank, and everyone clapped, and nearly everyone signed little non-disclosure waivers except for me, so I get to be blurred out slow clapping guy on the show. But also I get to talk about it tonight, so So I stormed out. I didn't sign it, and the little intern who had said she didn't know was crying, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm so sorry," and I said, "Fuck you." So later that night, I was back in my neighborhood in Brooklyn, and no one was wearing green. And I was talking to this guy in my neighborhood who works for TV, and I told him the whole story, and he got a little smile on his face, and he said, "You writers, you take yourself so seriously." And I know that some of you probably agree with him. Like, yeah, I probably could have handled it better. Probably didn't need to say "fuck you" to the intern. Maybe I could see the humor in it. But you know what? I do take myself seriously, and I take what I do seriously. And I think that other people should take what they do seriously. Because I don't know how to handle that situation, but I do know that my friends were boiled down into a jackass joke from 2005 about a cell phone going off, and it was an ugly shit show. And I feel like they deserve better than that. And I feel like the way to combat that is to be serious. Thank you.